What's up, my home skillets? So today we're going to be looking at 5 biggest mistakes low elo players make that'll stop them from climbing. Before we dive in, remember to check out GameLeap.com, where hundreds of guides made by top 500 professionals are right at your fingertips. Make the climb and get your dream rank today with a membership. Also, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like and comment what kind of video you want to see next. So, this is stuff I've seen in replays myself. I've had the benefit of watching a lot of VODs and replays when I coach or make videos, and by fixing these, you're going to see a massive impact in your performance. So, the first thing is the biggest one, wasting cooldowns. There's a lot of ways I've seen people waste cooldowns, whether that's by using them when it's not needed, throwing it out of nowhere, or just downright not using it. With this, let's talk about some specific examples. Imagine a Lucio just healing away. He pops his sound amp up to heal before a massive team fight when it's not needed, because his team was at full health at the time. Now the enemy team rushes in right after and Lucio doesn't have his sound amp at the crucial time, and because of it, his entire team wipes. Same with an Ana throwing out her sleep for no discernible reason other than to look cool, only to have a Winston diver or another backline squishy, leading to their deaths. Now, this can be attributed to being in autopilot mode, and what I mean by this is basically when someone isn't thinking about their actions as a whole, and instead just resorts to a primary, if I hold W and click on people, they die kind of mentality because of whether laziness or tiredness. But if you're super tired from a long day of work, you're probably not going to want to play ranked in the first place because, let's be honest, ranked is really stressful and time consuming. I mentioned this in an earlier video, but I might as well add that a good way to stop this mentality is when you're playing any hero, whether it's tank, healer, or DPS, whenever you use an ability or set of abilities, do a quick reflection on whether that ability was needed in order to win. And it's even easier when you die, because you'll have a longer time to reflect on what you used and didn't use, as well as what abilities were on cooldown. So at this point, assuming you have every cooldown available to you, see what you could have done to not die. It might take some getting used to for some to stop autopiloting, and I've seen a lot of that in my coaching sessions, but ultimately what this is going to do for you is make you way more aware of your actions, which is going to take you up to the next level in your climb. So, second thing on our list, playing too aggressive or too passive at the wrong times. A lot of low elo players don't know when or when not to go in. So what happens as a result is a Reinhardt playing backline or a DPS/healer in the front line. Obviously, this is counterproductive and resorts to getting picked off if you're too aggressive and useless if you're too passive. There needs to be a balance between the two most of the time, unless something factors in, and let's talk about that factor now. This might sound super obvious, but in practice, a lot of people make this error, and that's not going in off of picks as well as not regrouping back when someone gets picked. Now, when someone gets picked off on either team, they're essentially losing the kit they bring to a fight along with them. So if a McCree dies, his team won't have the added kit of flashbang, damage, and maybe a high noon. And if an Ana dies, that's even better. They won't have sleep, anti-nade, healing, and maybe a nano. You guys get it. But what I'm trying to relay is that you can play really aggressive when someone gets picked, and if the other team doesn't respect it, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to get absolutely destroyed. And again, pretty obvious on paper, but I still see a lot of bronze, silver, gold, and even platinum and diamond players have this problem. And in the latter of these ranks, it's probably the autopilot mentality that we talked about that makes them play like this. But ultimately guys, just be more aware of the kill feed. The third thing is attitude. I totally understand being super frustrated at someone because they're doing poorly or trolling or anything of the sort. After all, Overwatch is a team game with 5 other people on your team, but the only person you can control is yourself. A lot of people will blame someone on their team, and to be honest, I think we've all been there. I've been there, and I'm sure 99.99% of people have tilted at 1 or so points in their Overwatch career. Tilt is a huge problem in low elo and even at higher elos. And the one thing that frustration does is make you play worse. If you take away the focus from your team and instead start focusing on what you can do to win or play better, you won't be as frustrated as a result. It's going to still suck having that McCree that you swear hasn't hit a shot since beta, or that Zenyatta that doesn't put an orb on you when you're literally right in front of them. But just think to yourself, if I do the best I can in this shitty scenario, and once this game is over with, I'm done with it. I won't have to deal with the same teammates. I avoided that autolock DPS and I won't have to deal with him anymore. Let's get into the next one. So keep your mentality like this and I guarantee that you'll be less frustrated. And as a direct result, play better and improve a lot faster. Even if you get unlucky with some apes with a mouse and keyboard, just know that when you improve by doing this, your win rate will definitely speak for you. the fourth thing is over-ulting. Using way too many ults when only a certain amount would have sufficed. Sure, it's cool to get a massive shatter into Zarya grab followed by a nano Genji blade with the molten core nut on the ground and Transcendence just to set the mood with some nightlights. But ult economy is one of the most important factors in Overwatch, and is crucial in high ranks. It's even to the point that if a team sees the enemy over-ulting in these high ranks, they're going to be relieved. Now, in lower elos, which we are talking about in this video, it probably won't shift the entire game if you do this, but even so, keeping a good ult economy on your team will make you and your team stomp. If you've ever been in or seen a Masters game or above, you notice that one of the major callouts is what ultimates they'll use in a fight. So, a Reinhardt and a Zarya will decide who will use their ultimates first, followed by maybe a Genji blade or a High Noon. This way, you're only using 2 ults to win a team fight. And like I said earlier, the only person you can control is you, but with proper communication with your team on what ultimates to use, you'll be loved by your team and it'll make you look smarter. Because if you communicate this, you're already 10 steps ahead of the expectation in this elo. And that actually brings me to the 5th thing, communication. Communication is extremely vital, and in low elos, I know that people don't talk often, but if you start learning how to call out and what to call out, even if it's just you making the calls, then you're going to carry just by talking. Now, some commonly simple things to point out is target priority. If you see someone low or out of position, call it out. And it doesn't have to be anything too crazy to call out, just the name of the hero you want your team to focus. So just repeating the hero's name is enough to get most players, even in low elos, to start focusing them. So you'll get a Zenyatta to discord them, Rein to swing on them, etc, etc. And like I said earlier, the enemy having even a one-man disadvantage is going to be really heavy on them. Statistics literally show that there's a huge win rate loss in teamfights that are 5v6. Another thing to call out that we mentioned earlier is who should use ults for certain fights. We already went over that, so I won't get too into it. Just don't overult, it's seriously bad. Another thing you can do that's a bit more complex is learning how to track the enemy ultimates and call out to your team to play accordingly. Now, this does take a lot of time to learn and it's a part of the game sense, but the rule of thumb is that after 2 average fights, they'll have ultimates. If they've been popping off kill after kill or farming your tanks, then it will most likely take 1 fight. It's more of a game sense improvement, but communicating this is absolutely crazy, because in lower elos, people don't think about this, and as a result, they'll resort to using their ultimates whenever is up, and you can actually just abuse that to your advantage. The 6th thing is tunnel vision. Situational awareness is crucial in Overwatch, and tunneling on someone makes you lose all of that situational awareness. Now, I'd be lying if I said tunneling doesn't happen in high ranks. Hell, the reason Cloud9, C9 is a term, is because a professional team tunneled way too hard and lost a winning fight. The only difference is that you get punished a lot harder for a lack of awareness in higher ranks, but all I'm saying is that it's way more common in lower elos. What I specifically mean by tunnel vision is, let's say for example a McCree is shooting someone from high ground. They get away with a sliver of health and McCree jumps out of high ground to chase. Now, as a result, McCree is giving away high ground, which is just absolutely important, and as a result totally disregards his role as a high ground DPS just for a kill, when in reality it was still good that they got away because they won't be able to fight until they get healed or find the health pack. Now, this is a DPS example, but every role can tunnel vision too. For example, an Ana might be focusing too much on healing the Reinhardt only to completely disregard the rest of their team that's getting picked off around her. It's a pretty extreme yet common example. So if you have a bad case of tunnel syndrome, make sure to keep aware of this, because if you ignore everything happening around you because some squishy got away with 1 HP, then you're ultimately going to be useless to your team. The last thing I want to talk about is more of a mechanical problem, and that is that a lot of low elo players have sensitivities that are too high. Sure, it might be comfortable to play with, but statistics show that a lower sensitivity allows for better aiming. Just take a look at all the pros' DPIs. You'll notice that they fall fairly low at around 3 to 7 sensitivity in Overwatch with around 400 to 800 DPI. So if you have a high sensitivity, it's definitely going to be extremely difficult to get used to a lower sensitivity. So try this. Turn down your sensitivity by increments of 0.25 to 0.50. This way, you're slowly getting used to a lower sensitivity from what you're comfortable with, and it's not going to be such a huge difference that your muscle memory will make you look like an absolute snail. So just take it down by these increments down to a lower sensitivity, and after around a day or so, you'll start seeing yourself hit way more shots, not over flicking, and generally being a better player mechanically. In essence, there are 3 main points that make skill in Overwatch: mechanics, game sense, and positioning, and focusing on these will make you a way better player. And for that, we have Game Leap, where there are hundreds of detailed guides made by top 500 professionals designed to touch up on everything we talked about here and way more. Basically, anything you can improve on Overwatch, Game Leap has you covered. Try it out with a 25% discount by using our link in the description. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you want to see more of this, hit that like button and tell us in the comments what kind of Overwatch material you want us to cover. Thanks for all the support, guys. Peace.